Welcome, ladies. Good morning. It is Monday morning. No fluff. We're going to dive right into what we're going to talk about today. Talking about self control today. You don't understand why you're so frustrated. You're so irritable when your husband asks you something or asks you to do something or asks you about something. Not understanding why you're just so over it. The underlying issue is there's a lack of self control there. Nothing that you have done wrong. What has happened is there is an area that we have not built in our core as a woman, especially a woman over 40, recently married, who has for so long done things on your own accord, done things independently, and now you need to consider the feelings, the actions of someone else. That requires an adjustment. Now, is that the only reason why we need to build self control? Absolutely not. No matter your situation, single, married, divorced, engaged, you as a woman need to build self control. Us building self control allows us to be accountable for our own actions, our own feelings, and address and account for why we react to certain things in the way that we react to them. What I have learned is the times in which I have lost control, been upset, allowed my voice to be raised is because that is a lack of self control and a sense of I'm losing control. So the frustration is a reaction to that lack of self control, that lack of feeling not in control. That's a weakness, ladies. That's not a strength. Because in the end, you feel a certain way, you react a certain way. And then whatever the consequences are, we blame it on, well, you made me upset. Now, this is coming from a woman who was very emotional, much lack of self control, and not accountable for her own feelings, for her own actions. Wouldn't even admit to that some time ago. But now, knowing and understanding how important that concept is, I'd be the first to tell you that being able to build that in your core will change the way you show up as a woman. It makes you stronger. It makes you be able to walk in confidence. It makes you softer. Again, softer does not mean weaker. It actually makes you stronger because you stand in knowing who you are. Now, have I arrived? Absolutely not. It's a journey. It's not a destination. I have definitely grown from the Candy a year ago, the Candy 5 years ago, the Candy 10 years ago. I have grown because I have learned the importance of having self control. The word says that not having self control is like a city with the walls torn down. You don't want to be that city with your walls torn down. There was a question amongst my family, and in my family setting, I have an aunt that asks a lot of questions that require you to think. And she does this with myself, my siblings, and my older cousins. We call ourselves the Rat Pack. And then there's the younger version of my cousins. They're the next generation. She called them the Pack of Rats. But we usually always get together and we have different questions that she will ask that, again, it requires us to think. And she asked this question a few years ago. And she said, is offense given or is offense taken? And there were several different perspectives that came from several different people. But in us having that deep, detailed conversation, I allowed that conversation to make me rethink how I was showing up as a wife. Because let me just tell you, from someone who previously was very argumentative, very emotional, very defensive when things would come about, conflict will come about, not accountable. From someone who was in that and all of that, me digesting that question made me rethink, well, if my husband says something to me that I don't like, The feeling that I feel, can do nothing about. However, the reaction in which I give is 100% mine. I have to own that. So I thought about it, okay? If this is the man who I said I do to, that I absolutely have dedicated my life to, why would I believe in my heart that he would say something to me to deliberately hurt me? And the more and more I pondered on that thing, I came to realization we all at times will react in emotion. I had to reframe my thinking to say, you know what? He's never saying anything to me to deliberately hurt me. He may just saying something out of reaction to either something that I've said, something that I've done. Maybe he's having a bad day. It may not have anything to do with me. But whatever that may be, it's no different than me. Because the same if I'm having a bad day, or he may have been a certain way towards me and I just reacted and I'm doing it out of emotion, what's the difference? But if I know and if I think, if that's my train of thought, he's not trying to hurt me. There's no deliberation of hurting here. So if I know that and believe that, why do I need to react in a way that automatically puts me on the defense? This is someone who I am working in partnership with. He is not my enemy. We are working together. We are working together in whatever it is that we are trying to tackle. We are working together in this thing called life to be one. So why would I react in a way as if I'm fighting against him? So when I started to just continue to ponder that question, I said, now, you, the young lady who wants to smoke, the one who wants to be argumentative, the one that, wants to provide the rebuttal for everything, if you could take a moment and understand that every action doesn't need a reaction, every statement doesn't need a reaction, you would be more responsible for how you respond to certain things. Now, again, have I arrived? Absolutely not. But I'm definitely not where I was last year, last month, yesterday. Every day there's progress that I'm making because I now have the understanding that having self-control, me being responsible and taking control over my actions, my reactions, and my emotions makes me stronger. It has strengthened the core of who I am as a woman. And I understand that with my words, I can turn away wrath. My response can turn away wrath. I have that power. Me being responsible for how I will allow things to affect or not affect me has made me a better wife because I have exercised what you call self-control. Ladies, this is 100% your responsibility. We can work on this without the cooperation of anyone else. This is an internal, you are responsible, you are accountable. You need to do this on your own. Understand where that lack of self-control stems from. Is it a desire to be overly controllable? You want to be in control of everything? You don't like that feeling of not being in control? Where does it stem from? Because I'm telling you, that frustration that you're feeling, that irritability that you're feeling, that comes from you realizing that you're not in control. You don't need to be in control to be strong. To be honest with you, you're not in control anyway. I had to come to realize that as well. That's a hard truth. You're not in control anyway. And it's okay. The foundation of where your feet are planted helps you to know whether you can stand or whether you may trip and fall here or there. Remember we talked about that house? You build that house on sand, it's definitely going to tumble over. It will. You built that house on the rock, it's going to stand. And that's where you want to place your feet. You want to place your feet on the rock. Ladies, learn to have self-control over your emotions, over your reactions, and how you respond to words, how you respond to occurrences, how you respond to actions. This will change the way that you show up, not just as a wife, as a woman. When you can go through life and there is adversity, but you don't react to adversity as if something has blown up, man, that's what you call a strong woman. But we have believed the hype that the louder that I am, the more noise that I make, the more adverse I can be, the stronger I am. Those things that I just said, I was all of that. I'm standing up to fight for whatever I felt was right, especially in my home, especially in my family. I always had something to say, always. No silence, never, until I realized that when I can have self-control over my feelings, over my reactions, and understood the power that I had in my tongue to be able to turn away wrath, that made me show up differently. Again, it is a journey. It is not a destination, but you have to start somewhere. And where can you start? I've got something for you. So I've established this Aligned Wife community. If you are looking for some around the clock support and how to be a better wife from the core, what things do I need to do to build my core as a woman, to build my core as a wife, to show up differently in my marriage, to show up differently in my business, to show up differently as a person who has service to give to this world. I have this community that's open to you. The link will be down below in the description box. If you're not quite ready for a community and you're just trying to figure out, well, where do I even start? I have something what you call a Start Your Journey bundle. It's free. My first 50 women that sign up for it, I'm going to give it to you. Check out this bundle. Inside that bundle, there's what I call a peace talk checklist. Check out the checklist and see if you allow this checklist to reframe your train of thought before you start a conversation, especially with your husband. If it helps you, then you'll understand, hey, you know what? I need to dig deeper into this. Check out my bundle. If you're not sure where to start, if you know you need this support, you know you need this help, go ahead and join my community. See you back. Monday Morning Movement. Self-control is a topic for this week. Get into it. Learn how to do it. It will change the way you show up as a woman. I'll see you again soon. Love you, ladies.